Hey everybody, welcome to the Bee Weekly. We're hanging out here. I'm Kyle Mann, the editor-in-chief of the Babylon Bee, hanging out with my buddy Jarret and my other buddy Brandon, who both work at the Babylon Bee. They're not just my buddies, but they are also my buddies. In fact, we're going to go Topgolf later today.
Ooh, I'm so excited.
And I'm pretty excited about that.
I can't wait. I brought my clubs.
Did you?
Someone's being extra today.
That's a little extra. Top
Is it? Aren't you supposed to?
It's like bringing your own bowling ball.
Yeah. Isn't it just a driving range? It's just a driving range with like hot wings.
Or it's like bringing your own bowling ball to Topgolf.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, I brought my own bowling ball, guys.
It did not go over well.
Did you wear Did you bring special shoes?
Yeah, I have the clip-on shoes with the crampons. You know, like.
Did you bring a glove?
Oh, a
little towel.
I do have a glove, and I have a towel. I have the whole thing.
Gosh.
I have a bag of. That's what you put in the bag of clubs.
So today's a very special day. Besides Topgolf, we have Kirk Cameron coming into the studio.
Do we?
In about 30 minutes, he's going to knock on the door, and often we'll say, "Here comes someone into the studio," and and we pretend that they come, but we already recorded it. But literally, we're sitting here waiting for him to show up.
That's right.
We're just filling time.
We're wasting time.
That's what it is.
This is all. Remember that song?
If you're listening to the podcast and you haven't subscribed to the new podcast channel on YouTube, please do so. We have youtube.com/The Babylon Bee podcast. We moved our podcast from youtube.com/The Babylon Bee to a new podcast channel. So, little housekeeping item. If you listen and sometimes you go on YouTube and you haven't subscribed yet, go on YouTube, hit subscribe, help us grow the channel, and that would be fantastic. Another housekeeping item. Look at this lovely mug that I'm drinking. Oh, it's not a mug. What is it? A tumbler that I'm drinking out of.
You're not the only one.
Oh, look, there's two of them. Now there are two of them. It says conservative tears of joy because, and then it says right here, Roe v. Wade was aborted.
The abortion of Roe v. Wade.
The abortion of Roe v. Wade.
Well, you know what I like about this is that it's not liberal tears.
Right, but it's the double take.
Tears.
But it's like a triple take because they're like, liberal tear. Oh, it's conservative tears. That's good. And then they're like, oh, of joy.
What? So like liberals are gonna buy this and think that it's like the opposite.
We should market it to them.
It's gonna be so funny. We're gonna laugh at them from our. We
will laugh.
We will laugh at them.
But we won't actually.
And when they find out, we will collect their leftist tears in our Daily Wire tumblers.
I don't have a Daily Wire tumbler. And there's no typos on this mug. It's like perfect because that's the standard of quality that we have.
We really put some extra work into it this time.
Yeah.
So there's no typos.
No typos. And so check this out. Conservative Tears of Joy. You can get this at shop.babylonbee.com. We also have a beautiful Clarence Thomas Hope poster, sticker, and t-shirt that I'm not wearing right now because I want to wear this for our upcoming discussion about Christian culture.
MXPX.
We also had an awesome parody of the Beach Boys, I Wish We All Could Leave California. Well, that's not the Beach Boys song. The Beach Boys song is I Wish They All Could Be California Girls. Or it's technically just called California Girls. And, I wish we all could leave California. We can't play it here because then we'll get a copyright strike on this.
I don't know exactly how that works. I mean, parody, I think, is fair use, but for some reason, our video is currently copyrighted.
I Googled it, and it seems like there is a little bit of profit sharing that occurs when they still have the rights to the melody, so they get a portion.
And that seems weird.
And it seems like YouTube has a automated way of doing that. So maybe we'll still make some money from it. You never know.
We'll see.
We'll see. Anyway, go check that out on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TheBabylonBee. And that video is going far and wide, and it was a lot of fun to shoot.
It was a lot of fun.
I told people if they guessed what Beach Boys parody we were going to do, I would send out a Sizzler gift card. And nobody was anywhere near the ballpark of what it was, so nobody gets a Sizzler gift card.
Someone guessed the song.
Did they?
They guessed the song.
Maybe we can send them a Sizzler gift card.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It's crazy. My mom called it California Leaving. So she's like, I really liked that California Leaving song.
California Leaving.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
All the leaves are brown.
Wait, I think all the streets are brown.
All the streets are brown.
And the teachers are gay.
And the teachers are gay.
And the teachers are gay. And it's perfect with it because it was just.
I don't think we need to record it again. We got it. Like one take. Right.
Did we get that clean, guys? Did we get that clean?
That was good. Our harmonies were perfect.
Hey, our CEO Seth Dillon went on Joe Rogan, which was awesome. And we're going to play a little clip from it here for you to watch.
And get copyright stricken.
Check this out. Will we get copyright?
Yeah.
Oh, then we're not going to play a clip. Just go look it up. Watch
really good.
Watch it legally on Spotify.
Yeah. The part about abortion is really good.
Yeah, some sparks flew, emotions ran high.
Yeah.
on the section on abortion.
Mostly from Joe Rogan. He was the one that
He was getting pretty
he actually was
fired
getting
up.
pretty heated. Yeah,
Yeah.
he kept talking about.
It was kind of interesting because he kept talking about his daughter, right? Like you can't tell me my daughter can't get an abortion.
Yeah, he was.
If my daughter was raped, you can't tell me that she can't get an abortion.
Right, it was super personal.
But I think Seth was able to kind of just stick to the facts.
Oh, he did some jujitsu in there.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
But that was like a hypothetical situation, right?
Right, and it's an emotion-driven hypothetical situation.
I mean, a follow-up is you can't tell me that my daughter should die, essentially. I mean...
Right, what if,
right. Or you can't tell me that your daughter should die. If you're using the daughter as an emotional appeal, it's also an emotional appeal to say, okay, your daughter was killed before she was born.
I just liked that he utilized Joe's language when he talked about miracle, the miracle of life. Do you guys remember this? So Joe Rogan stated, well, you're saying there's some miracle moment.
Yeah,
I didn't watch all 87 hours of
it. But then Seth took it and he goes, well, you're the one that's saying there's a miracle moment. He's like, I think we are, It was actually really great. It was a great
I thought it was a
little
good
verbal
exchange.
jujitsu.
Yeah.
He got him in a rear naked choke.
Which isn't easy to do with
verbally.
Joe Rogan.
But left-handed or right-handed?
He's a really difficult guy to choke
with his left hand
Is
or
he
the
a
right
lefty
hand?
MMA fighter?
I think he's an ambidextrous.
Southpaw is what they call it, actually.
I would not mess with Joe Rogan. He's got a big neck.
He's a sturdy dude. He's a sturdy dude.
He can kick your butt.
Speaking of sturdy dudes, let's go to weekly news with Adam Yenser.
Friends, you've probably cut back on expenses just to afford the necessities. My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest preparedness company, will help you get prepared and fight inflation at the same time. They're knocking $250 off their popular Ready Hour 3-month emergency food kit. This is the lowest price in over 3 years, and it won't last long. To get this special savings, go to preparewithb.com. My Patriot Supply stocked up on food when prices were low, and now they're passing the savings on to you. Don't miss this chance. To save $250 each Ready Hour 3-month emergency food kit you need for your family. The kit contains over 2,000 calories a day. So instead of standing in government food lines, your family will eat comfortably because you did the right thing today. When you're ready for real preparedness, get Ready Hour foods from My Patriot Supply. Your $250 savings per kit is waiting for you at preparewithb.com right now. Preparewithb.com.
It's time for the weekly news with Adam Yenser.
The biggest news today, Joe Biden announced a plan to forgive up to $20,000 of student loan debt for borrowers making less than $125,000 per year. This is great news, said students who skipped Intro to Economics. It's the most money Biden has given struggling college students since the last time Hunter went to Empire Gentlemen's Club. And don't worry, if you make more than $125,000 per year or paid off your own debt, the plan still gives you $300 billion in taxes. Vice President Kamala Harris was photographed on vacation in Hawaii this week, hiking up a mountain, which is unusual since she usually sleeps her way up. California Governor Gavin Newsom announced that he is banning the sale of gas-powered cars in the state by 2035, which means everyone will have to buy electric cars like Leonardo DiCaprio or steam-powered cars like Jay Leno. Prince William announced that he and Kate Middleton are moving out of London to give their children a normal life. He's also starting his son on Rogan to give him a normal life, and keeping his daughter away from Uncle Andrew to give her a normal life. Ben Affleck's brother Casey Affleck skipped Ben and Jennifer Lopez's wedding, saying he had other things going on that day. But Casey has promised he'll go to Ben Affleck's next wedding. Los Angeles County is now offering free COVID testing for pets. So far, the only pets following the COVID protocols are the sheep. Sylvester Stallone's wife has filed for divorce after 25 years of marriage. Stallone's representative, Michelle Bega, issued the following statement from the actor. A female engineer is promoting a new trend called quiet quitting, where workers continue at their job but secretly put in minimal effort. There's probably a good punchline for that setup, but whatever. A new study found that when dogs are reunited with their owners after being away from them for more than 5 hours, their eyes tear up with joy. It's the same thing your cat does when you leave. Dennis Rodman said he has permission to travel to Russia to negotiate for Brittany Griner's release. So once again, the NBA has to bail out the WNBA. When asked who exactly gave him permission to travel to Russia, Dennis Rodman replied, "My wife, Dennis Rodman." Drought conditions in Texas' Dinosaur Valley State Park have revealed previously undiscovered dinosaur footprints from 113 million years ago, or for some of our viewers, from 6,000 years ago. Dolphins trained by the U.S. Navy were caught on video eating venomous sea snakes. So for those of you who think our military is falling behind China, don't worry. We now have transgender soldiers and dolphins that eat snakes. That's it for Weekly News. Be sure to check out the full Babylon Bee Weekly podcast on the new Babylon Bee podcast channel. And come see me live at McCurdy's in Sarasota, Florida, September 1st to 4th, and Off the Hook Comedy Club in Naples, September 7th and 8th.
Thanks for that, Adam Yenser.
He's so sturdy.
All right, in the few minutes we have left before Kirk Cameron arrives and we bask in the glory, we wanted to talk a little bit about Christian culture in the 90s. Any of you who grew up in the 90s with Christian culture, maybe you loved it, maybe you hated it, but you got memories of it.
I do.
It was a thing that happened.
It happened. It was like,
So I thought we could just kind of do it as word association.
Sure, yeah.
Veggie Tales
Don't have eyebrows. They should not have eyebrows.
should never have eyebrows.
And if you give them eyebrows, that's
Yeah.
when everything goes downhill. That's the jump the shark moment.
I think of Saint Nick.
Oh, yeah.
I was probably 6 or 7, VHS tape. It was the one with the two hills.
The Two Hill one. Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking
I
about?
don't know what
It was the story of the Good Samaritan. And like a guy gets beat up by the side of the road. And
two. Okay, I thought you just meant there were two hills.
was like a
on the
tale
path.
of two cities. They called it something
yes.
like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I forget the songs. In
Oh,
it.
Jericho. That's the other one with the
Oh, yeah.
peas.
They had
That's a really good
French
one. With
peas.
the
Those
peas.
are
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. They're
French
pouring
peas.
the Slurpees over the side.
Yeah, it is very. Yeah, that
It was like an event when the new one
Yeah.
went out and you went to Berean or wherever
You
The
bought the
bookstore,
taste, right?
back when that bookstore existed. Yeah.
There was an interesting. Phil Vischer wrote an interesting article about the fall of VeggieTales and the decline of Big Idea and how.
Talk about the fall of Phil Vischer.
Well, this was before the fall of Phil Vischer. There's an
Yeah,
interesting thing
seriously.
about how when you go from a small business to a medium business, that's where most businesses die because there's like this. We need to produce more all of a
I
sudden.
think it was more about the eyebrows
to
personally.
sustain this. And it was also the eyebrows. But they realized like we can't just release 2 tapes a year anymore.
Yeah.
It can't be this event. Now we have to like churn out. Remember the low budget flat like the 2D Larry Boy cartoon or like
I do. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
like that was like we need to get more stuff out and it was suddenly not hitting the quality
Yeah.
anymore.
That's too bad. That's
Salty
sad.
the Singing Songbook.
Oh, of course. I
man.
named my cat after Salty.
Nice. Awesome.
My cat, who was a Siamese cat, I got him when I was 7 years old.
His name is Roger.
His name's Roger.
well, okay, so
it Salty? Did you name it
with
Salty?
a P. Yeah.
but here's the
Salty.
thing.
Salty.
So later on, they kind of revamped Salty and made him more Muppety and more like visually appealing, as much as Salty could possibly be. But the old Salty with just the dude with his head poking out in the blue fro,
Yeah.
and Risky
And blue
Rat
face.
and Charity Church Mouse were terrifying.
Well,
Absolutely
it was
terrifying.
almost like a clown. It was like hinting
exactly.
at clown
It was
makeup.
quite clownish.
Yeah, it was very
But
scary.
fantastic songs.
Great songs. Gonna climb up that mountain.
That's not how it goes.
One step at a time.
I'm climbing my mountain one step at a time.
I think I always sang it the other way.
Yeah, I think so.
I would, you know, I love
For the glory of the Lord.
What's that? I love you, Lord, and I lift my
That's
voice.
salty, or is that just a generic?
I was, but it was salty. Like
Salty
it was in the salty.
and
thing.
the what's it? Missing 9 kids missing.
Yes.
It's missing. Do 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 do. That was good.
I
was a good one.
I don't think I ever saw Salty anything.
Do you guys remember?
A friend of mine, a good friend of mine, she actually went to I think her high school. I think it was Maranatha, and like basically her entire school faculty was like the Salty cast, and like Salty was her principal,
Really?
something like that. I don't know.
I'm
might be making
Salty,
things
the
up.
singing songbook.
I might be making
sounds
this entire
horrible.
I will swallow
And he
your
came to
soul.
school dressed as the songbook.
Bible Man.
I wasn't into Bible.
You know,
Man.
I
It
wasn't
looked-
either.
I wasn't. I think I was a little bit old for it, and I think I detected the cheesiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Even as a child, you kind of know.
I think
There are
with
certain
all
things
of
where
this
you're like,
stuff, I think with all of this stuff, you knew that you were getting the Kirkland brand version.
That's true.
like you knew, like when you get the Lucky Charms that you've got the Marshmallow Mateys instead or whatever.
but wait, Marshmallow Mateys are better than Lucky Charms.
Are they?
No.
Significantly.
No.
I think they are.
I've never had them. So
Okay. Anyway, you guys should try them.
But
Whatever
salty,
you need to tell yourself.
but salty is the S tier. Like there's no comparison.
Do we
There's
need
no
a Super
comparison to
Smash
salty.
Brothers of Christian 90s culture? Is
Well,
this
wait.
the Babylon Bee video game idea?
Do you guys remember So you remember Anthony Ant? So this was a little bit before maybe your time, but there was Anthony Ant, and then there was the Music Machine. Do you guys remember Music Machine?
Yes,
Music
yes,
Machine.
yes. I do know some music
Music
machine.
Machine.
Now that's the Kirkland brand version of Salty.
That was like Have Patience. No, this was. I think Salty was the Kirkland brand version of this.
No, but
This was legit.
Sure.
The Donut Man.
Okay.
Wasn't
What is
it
the Donut Man? I don't even know what that is.
It's like God's love, blah, blah, blah.
Is that
It's
where
like,
the
there's a hole in the middle of your heart. And
is
there's
that
like
where
a-
demon bread came
That's
from?
where demon bread
Okay,
comes from.
Nice.
Demon bread.
So respect, at least.
Respect,
I never saw it, but I respect
They
it.
had like donut puppets, and then they were like, the bread is baking in the oven. And then this bread comes out, and it's like, dong, and it like glares at you with these
Demon
eyes.
bread.
Yeah, it's.
I think they added
didn't
those
call it
four
demon bread, that's just-
afterwards. I don't think that was part
I
of
am
it.
Demon bread.
Mary Rice Hopkins.
Oh, Mary Rice Hopkins is my personal friend. She's wonderful. My wife and I have actually worked with her before.
Oh, very
We've
cool.
recorded some songs with her. She's great.
We grew up with the tapes. I think we had one that we just watched over and over.
I remember having the piano folio and learning her songs, and then meeting her later in life was really cool.
That's really cool.
And she's still a Christian.
Yes, she is.
That's
Unlike Phil Vischer.
It seems like the key is the cheesier you were,
Write
the
that
more
down.
likely you are to still be a Christian. Like the cooler
No,
you,
for
the
sure.
cooler you were, the more likely you were to become.
This
an
is a
atheist.
paraphrase of
So
a Bible
be
verse.
a square.
So here's the thing: a paraphrase of the Bible verse that God uses the foolish things of the world to shame the
I
wise.
agree. I
God
think
uses the cheesy things of the world to
I think
shame
that's
the
true.
cool. I was in
Shame
it.
the cool.
He does. I was in for 12 years. I played Jesus in an Easter play, and it was all 90s CCM music. Like it was like Stephen Curtis Chapman.
Jars of
and-
Clay.
Yeah, it was like crazy. And then, but so many people came to Christ in that, and there was a lot of cheesiness. We had donkeys,
Puppet
we had
shows.
lasers, puppet shows.
Have puppet shows saved anyone to your recollection?
No, not that I remember.
Most of those guys are atheists now.
Yeah, the puppet show
Most of
guys.
those guys
It's a dark
were
world.
atheists.
Yes, sir. It's a dark world. The puppet world is a dark world.
The Lord's Gym T-shirts,
Oh, I always loved looking at these parody shirts, and I always
or just any parody.
even as a child, I was like, who buys these?
It was me.
I got him.
Dude,
You
I
want a
owned
Lord's
every
Gym?
single. I had the PlayStation one that said Salvation instead of PlayStation.
The number one
Mountain Dew one that was like I don't even remember. What
Well,
that
the number
was.
one I wanted to do was a Mountain Dew, but it was Moses with the 10 Commandments, and it would be called coming down from Sinai, and it would say Mountain Jew.
Yeah, why
what I
did
wanted.
we not have the
I
shirt at the
wanted to do
Babylon
that.
Bee? Can
Yeah.
we please design this?
I actually looked into it. Some other people do it, but it did come from my brain, and then
Someone stole it.
God,
someone
that's
stole it.
Reese's,
Fantastic.
Jesus,
Yeah.
Testamentos.
Testaments.
Testaments are
Testaments.
coming up, but we can do those now.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I worked at the Family Christian Bookstore.
that's the thing about
I had to
Kyle.
restock the Testaments.
So Kyle, I would assume that Kyle would be somebody who's like totally cynical about all this stuff, but I think you kind of love it. I actually kind of loved all this stuff.
And it wasn't ironic.
No.
I absolutely loved it growing up. I think I went through a phase of cynicism, and I think we can mock it now a little bit. But I also think it's like way better than what our culture is going through now. You know,
Well, even the Christian culture, like kids' Christian culture, is not what it was then. There was like a whole well-developed Christian pop culture.
I'd rather someone eat Testaments than watch Cuties on Netflix.
Yeah, that's
I think we could all agree with that.
yeah,
They're close in my book, but
that's good.
Breakfast in Hell,
I don't know that one.
Audio Adrenaline.
Got
That
that,
was-
one. Got that one.
that was the Newsboys song that we were singing
Big,
earlier.
big house with
There
lots
was no
and lots
response,
of
so I just moved
room.
on to the next one.
Okay, got it.
Big, big table.
It's like we believe that God will punish people eternally for their sin. And we wrote a song about it, a happy, peppy song. The Newsboys wrote a happy, peppy
Oh.
song about it. Do you know Breakfast?
Yeah.
No, I don't
Oh,
know.
you don't
We
know
were
It was
literally
Newsboys,
singing it
no.
before.
No, he was just singing
Oh,
Big
it was
House.
the one Dan.
All the milk has turned and all the toast has burned,
and Captain Crunch is waving farewell.
Oh, okay, I do remember it now.
And it's like we write a song about how you won't have Captain Crunch there.
My favorite hell song
That's
is
how you get the kids. You take away their promise of Captain Crunch.
No, and then you do one of those like Halloween what are they called them? Like
That's coming up.
the
That's
haunted house.
The Hell House.
The Hell
Festival.
House.
We could just talk about that now.
Oh,
Okay, the Hell House was
I
something
never
that-
experienced the.
I went through a couple of them, but the Hell Room was always they like would just pump the heat in there, and they would cover the walls with like black trash bags, and it was like, and then
copied
have
the
like
secular
somebody
version
screaming.
of Haunted House is, which I think people who throw on Haunted House are like, I don't necessarily believe in ghosts or witches or whatever, but
Yeah.
this is kind of a fantasy thing. But Christians are like, we actually believe in hell, and we're going to put you there.
Well, first you have to go through you go through a car accident or some such where one person.
Do they actually do that? Like, so,
Yeah.
like it's like you're
so
dead.
like it's like a car accident. Like you go in the first room and it's like somebody dies in a car accident, and then or two people do, and one goes to heaven and one goes to hell. So you like somebody goes to the throne room, and then the other person goes to hell, and then later on they get resurrected or come back to life. And they're like, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me?" And then you're
so it's like
walk out.
it's a chick tract that you walk through.
It's an interactive chick track.
It's almost like it's supposed to be a motivation to evangelize to your friends at school, so they don't go to hell.
I told the story before, but I visited a friend's youth group, and the youth pastor decided the best object lesson was he had someone shut all the lights off as he pulled out a gun and fired it a bunch of times, and it was a cap gun or a firing blanks or I'm sure it wasn't a real gun, but he was like, I'm sure
He was firing blanks.
or real gun bullets, I don't know, but he was just like bam, 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 and he's like, "You're all dead." And then he just thought this was like this powerful moment, and then he just started talking about what happens after you die.
You're all dead, even you, little guy in the back.
He's not a midget.
He's not a midget.
Stop moving around. Stop it. You're dead.
Throwing sin rocks into the fire.
This is foreign to me. I don't know.
No. This is like it's
Go to the
symbolic.
camp, final day of summer camp.
Yeah, I don't
Everybody
think we did
take
that.
your rock and
Okay, so we used to have
your sin on it and
at
throw it in
APU. This is very interesting. At APU, we used to have a prayer chapel, and I would go in there and I'd pray in there. I'd actually pray in there a lot because it was
Azusa
on the way.
Pacific University
It was on
for
the
the
way
layperson.
back to my dorm room, and so I would stop in, and there were all these rocks where you could like write what you're struggling with and set it at the foot of the cross, and so it was kind of a similar thing.
The rocks don't burn.
I was
So
So it's
someone
like all
collected them.
all the camp counselors came out afterwards and looked, struggling with lust.
Lust. I know it's like
Struggling
porn,
with alcohol.
300 rocks that say lust on them.
porn. Porn. No, anyway, so I went through all the. One time I was just feeling particularly voyeuristic, and I was like praying at this altar, and I was like started reading I got distracted. I started reading the rocks. No. Here's the trippy part. I picked up one, I turned it over, and it was my name. And then I went through a couple other ones, and I picked up another one, and it was my name again.
They were all you.
There
had
were
all
two
the
names,
sin.
two of my name on the rocks at the foot of the
Wait, are
cross.
they saying they're struggling with you?
Yes, I don't know what they were saying. It could have been
Oh, I thought
anything.
I thought that was your rock that you had thrown in.
No, it was my name on a rock that should have a sin. No, I'm serious. So it was very disturbing. I didn't know what to do, and so I went back. I told my best friend Nate. I was like, Nate, my name is on the rocks. We got to find out who's stalking me.
McGee and me. No,
I wasn't a huge fan. I mean, I'd seen it a few times, but
I had the VHS tape where they race on the skateboards,
Yeah.
and we thought it was the most radical thing ever because they were on those old.
the most radical thing is coming up on the list. I see it.
They were
I
on those
see it.
old flat skateboards that had just the one fin.
Yeah.
Kind of like the wide nose deal. And they were like doing a race, and they're all wearing elbow pads, knee pads, and a helmet.
Safety.
Yeah.
And like the bully kids are like, "Yeah, we're so awesome," and
They'd say, we're going to get you.
and they throw a water balloon on the track and make him slip.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I think he ends up winning, or no, the bully wins, and then but everybody realized that they cheated.
Oh, spoilers,
Like,
man.
No, you cheated, and they're
I was
like,
getting really
we don't
into it. I was
like
gonna go home
you.
and watch it.
And
I think
so
we
he
had
gets-
we had
justice is served in the
the
end.
haunted house one is the one that we had.
Oh yeah,
It wasn't like a haunted house, but it was like the old
I
man.
vaguely remember that.
The old man in the neighborhood.
I never
that
did get
everyone was
into
scared of.
Adventures in Odyssey.
I never got into it, but I know the guy who does the music. Remember, I said the guy who does the music for that. John Campbell.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah, he was in our
I wasn't
neighborhood.
into it, but we did visit Focus on the Family in Colorado, and they had this whole interactive exhibit and a recording booth where you can be in Adventures in Odyssey, and we did that when we were kids.
Yeah, they really leaned into Adventures in Odyssey. It wasn't a bad thing. It was actually a pretty good thing. You can still go through it. They hold up. The moral lessons
Remember
are
that
still there.
show that was like the Last Chance Adventures, or the
Yeah,
Last Chance,
I do.
and it was like there was Bigfoot. It was like Bigfoot out. It's Bigfoot in the wilderness, or like there was one that was. Yeah,
It's
like,
just
you
I
know,
remember
that?
the name.
John Campbell
yeah.
did the music for that too. That's why I remember that.
Right, Last Chance Adventures. There's
Chance-
another
Last
focus
Chance
on
Detectives or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Last Chance.
It was like another
it was a
focus on the family thing.
Kind of
Yeah.
Adventures in Odyssey related thing. 5 Iron Frenzy.
I was more of a Reliant K guy.
Sad.
If I remember, I saw them once.
They're commies now. Superbook.
I don't even know what that is. This is the first
Now,
time I don't even know what that
Superbook is newer, but it's really pretty good.
It's not newer.
Isn't it?
You must be talking about the reboot.
There is a reboot. Isn't
Gritty.
This was like 80s,
The gritty,
90s.
realistic reboot.
This was actually like an anime. This was like an anime with
I've never
where they
heard
go
of
back.
this, yeah.
No, I remember. Okay, I remember Superbook.
Colby the computer.
This was what I was talking about.
In
that is
and out.
rad.
was
They had a
like-
skateboarder on there. They had all the video effects, the strobe effects. Peer pressure. Peer pressure. Who made up the rule? You got to keep up to be cool. That was rad.
Peer.
I thought the
Pressure.
computer was really advanced at the time. Like he had a keyboard on him,
He was Colby
Yeah.
was my homeboy.
64K of RAM.
No, didn't they do input output? Isn't that the song they used?
I don't know, but they did.
Input output.
That sounds
is
like
what
a
it's
Global
all about.
diagnostic discs, specially made for cases. I'm just gonna sing the entire Colby catalog. Right
We need to read. We need to do a reboot of Colby.
We did a Colby play at church growing up, and I was in it.
I love Colby. I think I like Colby more than Salty. If that's not
I,
yours.
well, I do too because I didn't really know Salty, but
Yeah, we did a couple of plays growing up. That's one thing that I don't know if that's on here, but there were all those plays for kids. And we did Sherlock Holmes. He was like searching for truth. And
he was
I
like searching
remember
for truth. Or
there was one about Jehoshaphat, fat Jehoshaphat. You guys remember that one? Fat Jehoshaphat. And he was like Jehoshaphat, only
Nick
he
at
was
Night?
really fat.
Nick at Night. You remember that one?
Wait, wasn't Nick at Night like just on?
No, it was about Nicodemus. There was
Oh, no, I don't remember that one. But it's kind of a similar concept,
It's
right?
probably all the same company. that published
It probably is.
Kirk Cameron.
I know.
I don't know.
Never heard of him.
I don't know who that
Left
is.
Behind the Kids. Do you remember
Is
the
that like
kids?
Honey,
series?
I did
Shrunk
read
the
those.
Kids?
I actually
There was like 40 of them.
yeah, I did read some of them.
Never read
not
them.
all of them.
Never
They
read
were
them.
like this thick each
They were,
one.
they,
of
were,
them.
they were like
Yeah, it was
150 pages, like mini novels. Yeah,
slightly longer than tracked.
yeah, and there was like 400
Right.
of them. Frank Peretti.
Oh man.
Door in the Dragon's Throat.
and
for
the
kids.
nightmares that I had
Yeah.
reading
The
This
kids'
Present
versions.
Darkness.
No, the kids version though. This Present Darkness scared the crap out of me though. Like I read it in college.
I actually didn't
and
have
it was
nightmares.
Still scary.
But I did I was afraid of the dark for a little
Big
bit.
budget movie. This Present Darkness, I still think would be awesome.
Absolutely.
no,
I think if you
agree.
shot it, right, it would
that
be
was
awesome.
that was like when I as a teenager when I was like I want to be a filmmaker. That was like what I wanted to make was
well,
This
hey,
Present
the
Darkness.
future is bright. I actually think we could do that. But Frank Peretti, there was a group that was trying to make it probably 15 years ago. I
I'm
remember
sure.
they were shopping
I'm
the
sure
script
tons
around.
have tried. Yeah,
But it would be really difficult to do well.
you'd have to have a budget. And,
You'd have to have like.
and I
it would
think
have to
I think
be-
you need director and cinematographer who know what they're doing.
And you need a Ralph Winter.
That's true.
We
You
need Brandon.
You need a lot of money, and you need us,
And a
we could
Ralph
do it.
Winter.
and a Ralph Winter.
Yeah.
Bible Adventures for the
think-
NES.
By the way, I think
Oh, I was only aware of Super 3D Noah's Ark.
That was Super Nintendo, or was that computer? Super
That was
Yeah, I never-
basically Doom, exactly Doom, but you were shooting bread at animals.
I've mentioned this before, but there was a computer game called Katekuman where you actually hold the sword of the spirit like this, and you shoot spirit power at Roman soldiers, and if you hit them enough times, they fall on the ground on their knees, and it goes hallelujah.
Just like how I
Lights come down,
evangelize in
light
real
comes
life.
that seems like a good evangelism tactic.
We also had Joshua for Game Boy, and it was weird because it was like this. I guess Game Boy had their proprietary Game Boy cartridges.
Yeah.
And so since this was like a third-party knockoff, totally low-budget thing, like they didn't have a thing over the contact points, a sleeve over the contact points. It was like a strangely shaped cartridge. That was
because it was basically bootleg trying to
Yes,
get it onto
exactly,
the Game Boy.
exactly.
So mostly, I mean, I remember the Bible stuff for Nintendo. Nintendo had a couple of cartridges games that were Bible oriented, but I never played them. I always thought that stuff was boring.
When I was like in high school, I was
Joshua game
really,
was not great,
really like interested in trying to find a good Christian computer game because it was like, that's what I wanted to do when I grew up. I was like, I want to develop Christian entertainment on the computer or whatever. And I played tons of them, and they were all terrible. I don't
all
think I ever
terrible.
found a good one. But
Let's make an updated Super 3D Noah's Ark on the Unreal Engine.
yes.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Somebody actually had a good pitch for one that was an RPG set before the flood. So they used a lot of like fantasy elements, and it was like pitched like Morrowind before the flood. And
Like
Riding dinosaurs.
of course, it
with
never,
the rock
dinosaurs
creatures?
were in it.
Rock
And of course, it
creatures.
never came.
The
to
Watchers.
fruition. Bible trivia board games. Anybody play these growing up?
No, dude, I never
No.
played them.
Okay.
But I will
knew they
say
were
just
there.
a little quick asides, Bibles to Bible Apples to Apples is one of the worst games.
Oh, not good.
Because instead of having fun, you're just having theological debates as to why you should pick my card and why this is
sounds
the most
like Dan would
theologically
enjoy
accurate.
that. Getting scared that you were left behind because your mom went to the mailbox.
Happened to me twice. One of them.
And walking up a hill,
One disappeared.
and one's left standing still.
I wish we'd all been ready.
We're going to get so many copyright strikes. We sound exactly like the original recording.
I wish we'd all been. Remember that was Chris? That was Kevin Max.
WWJD bracelets.
I got it.
Wait.
WWJD bracelets.
I don't know if I had one.
Sorry, did I steamroll
might have
over
had
your
one.
stuff?
No, I think that the Left Behind thing was the real thing, and I got left behind once.
You think that you actually did?
Well, no. I mean, I was like, when I got home, and the crazy thing about it was the guy up the street was a big elk hunter. And so I ran outside.
That is the thing.
This is how all Jarrett's stories start.
So I was
driving up to Red Mountain one day.
yeah, in a panic, I run out in front of my house, out into the middle of the cul-de-sac that we lived on. And what I hear, instead of like what normally you would hear, I hear this.
So the trumpets are playing.
I thought the trumpets, I was like, that's the trumpet. I fell on my knees and I ran up the street because I thought for sure, like I fell on my, I was like, Lord. And then I was like, wait a minute, I got to see where that's coming from. So I ran up the street and I turned the corner and the guy was blowing on this elk horn. So I feel like
Jesus?
I feel like the Lord was like, Jarret, you need to get your crap together. This is a close one.
I like the idea that when Jesus comes back, it's going to sound like a duck call.
I don't know what a shofar sounds. You know, like at this point, we're not in a Pentecostal church or something.
WWJD bracelets.
Okay,
I had those.
I had them.
I don't think I had one, but
You
I might have. Possibly.
Frog. Forever rely on God.
I remember that acronym.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
It should have been, what is Jesus doing, though? It should have been WIJD,
That doesn't,
No.
theologically.
Purity rings.
I had one.
Yep.
Had one.
I did not have a ring, but I did make the commitment.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
and it had like a picture of a heart and a key on it, but like it also looked like a pretzel. So when people asked what it was, I was
Yeah.
like, it's a pretzel.
So a heart and a key. So it had a
When
hole.
you got it, when
and
you were
something.
ashamed, you were like, "Oh, it's a pretzel. That's all it is." Mine said, "I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine." I actually like the purity ring thing.
Yeah.
People mock that, but it wasn't. Like I thought that was a good idea. Right?
I don't mind purity culture. I think it's good.
Yeah. How about that song that went "Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord" for 79 hours?
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
I didn't love that song.
Redemption
Yes,
CCG.
Lord, yes, Lord.
Anybody play Redemption CCG?
We had that.
CCG?
This was the baptized version of Magic the Gathering, the card
Oh,
game.
I never got into it.
Yeah.
I had a youth leader that convinced me to burn all of my Magic the Gathering cards.
because you could play this one and it wouldn't summon demons.
Yes. Well, you actually still did. That was the weird thing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
had to play enemy cards
Yeah.
to stop the other guy. So you were like, oh, you want to save that soul? Lust.
I meant IRL. It doesn't summon real demons.
Right. It doesn't summon
like
real demons,
magic
just
does.
on the cards.
So Magic the Gathering literally summons
The funny
demons.
thing
Every
is that-
time you
the
play a
funny
card,
thing to
it
me is that
summons a
Magic the
demon.
Gathering is a fantasy world, so it's like you're just doing that in the confines of that. Where Redemption is actually talking about real things like saving souls, and so it's actually a little more. Anyway.
That's the weird part about combining fantasy with Christianity. It's weird because we all believe all these things. So,
DC talk.
of course.
Now you could do your impression.
Let's see.
How? That one.
No, I was thinking of
My impression.
No.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was old. That's old. Some people gotta learn the hard way.
I'm down with the one who's known as the son from the D to the O to the D, never done, never tried.
Down with the DC tour. Down with the
lost
DC tour. I used to love that. I love rap music.
POD.
Yeah, there was.
To them for a little bit. I had like
Yeah.
Satellite and
The first album
that came after
album,
that,
big out, the album that went big, that was the one that
Satellite. I think was that.
No,
one?
it was the one before that.
Okay.
We are.
Fundamental Elements of Southtown, I think it was called.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
had Southtown and
The youth of a nation.
little Susie. She was only 12.
Yeah, yeah.
She was given the world with
Fat
the chance to
stacks.
excel.
I remember
that's
that
right.
was like one of the first CDs that I bought at a non-Christian bookstore
Ooh.
because they had it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of that weird crossover. Like, are they Christian? Are they not? Like, are they?
Yeah, that was always a kind of fun
Catholics,
game
were
to
they
play.
Catholic?
It's like, I think they're Christians.
Speaking of Switchfoot,
too.
I like the one song that they
The
had.
first album. What's good?
I actually literally walked out of a Switchfoot concert before.
They have
Did
a
you?
prolific.
Over what?
They're prolific.
The thing is,
They're my favorite.
it was a
Christian band.
Reliant K / Switchfoot concert. I went to go see Reliant K, and Switchfoot was playing, and I had work to do, so I just left. in the
So it
middle.
wasn't like that John Foreman's a heretic.
No,
I'm
no,
out.
no, no, no. It was literally just, I have stuff to do, and I'm not a really huge fan of Switchfoot, so.
I would say the Nothing Is Sound album is a masterpiece. I think it's one of the best albums ever made.
There are some really good songs. Like that's. I think they had some really good songs on that one.
I think they
that
were one
really
of the
got
few
big.
from a lyrical perspective
Yeah.
that can write
Welcome.
stuff that is like pointing to this eternal truth or this Christian truth, but it's not on the nose like Jesus, I love you.
Right.
Like they don't say Jesus, and I like that.
It's kind of like Sufjan. I mean, Sufjan Stevens is sort of on the same.
I heard you.
Oh, sorry.
I Kissed Dating Goodbye.
That Josh Harris is full of crap, man.
He is, but I will say that I think like we were talking about purity culture. I think a lot of it still applies. Maybe not all of it, but some of it.
Yeah, I didn't understand though, but like I was harmed by this.
Well, it's the
Like, what?
transactional.
You were harmed by your
message.
Like not dating around.
No, you were harmed by your own stupidity.
I agree.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. My problem is like with I Kissed Dating Goodbye, they kind of preach this transactional thing where
yeah, if you do this,
if you do this, then God will bless you with a great sex life.
Yeah.
That was the.
That's
what
that
they
was not part of.
They're like, no. If you wait, it's way better. Like it's like every youth pastor I ever.
worked for me.
But it worked for me too.
Hallelujah parties. This is related to the Hell House.
What is a hallelujah party? I don't even know what that is.
Like a Halloween party.
Oh, hallelujah!
Autumn festival.
Autumn festival.
It's an
Fall
autumn, a
festival.
harvest festival.
Harvest festival.
Yeah.
Well, we got a couple more here. Christian knockoffs of Jazzercise. I
never
I
did
feel like
that.
my mom, I feel like the ladies in our church were always going to like exercise classes, but they played praise music instead of.
Well, yeah. My mother-in-law has taught step aerobics for
Yeah,
like
like that kind of
30
stuff.
years,
Like,
and
it
she
is always a
always
church
throws
function.
gospel music in it.
Gospel size.
She's still doing it. Yeah.
And the final one is Christian knockoffs of The Onion.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why did they even try?
What's that?
Stop.
There's just
so cringe.
so not funny.
Just
All
because
right.
just because they have bigger numbers doesn't mean they're better.
Yeah, that's true. Just because more people.
Well,
Talk about it.
Kirk Cameron is here, so here we go. Treasure in heaven is great, but it's not going to buy you a tank of gas. So let's take a moment to briefly review the current state of our economy and the global effect the war between Russia and Ukraine has had. We're in for a tough year here, and Biden's printing and spending could be catastrophic for the US dollar and the market. That's why a growing number of financial analysts are recommending you diversify with gold and silver now. And the only company we recommend is Allegiance Gold. Our friends at Allegiance Gold can help you protect your IRA or 401k with physical gold and silver and have it delivered securely right to your door. The team at Allegiance Gold takes the time to educate their clients on the importance of having a financial portfolio that's diversified with gold and silver. Allegiance Gold has been one of the top precious metals firms in the nation for their commitment to protecting your hard-earned savings. They have an A+ from the Better Business Bureau, a 5-star rating with TrustLink, and they're AAA rated with the Business Consumer Alliance. If you act now by calling them and you mention Babylon Bee, they'll even give you $500 of free silver on a qualified purchase. Call 844-790-9191 to get this exclusive offer. Or you can visit allegiancegold.com/B. That's B-E-E. Call 844-790-9191. That's 844-790-9191. Or visit allegiancegold.com/BEE.
Can I just say that I'm really honored to be here with you guys. I have laughed so hard at so many of your jokes, even the ones where you guys poke at me. It just cracks me up, and my kids love it, and it's really an honor to be here in person with you guys.
Go on. We'll wait.
The honor is shared. I'm very honored to be in here.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
This is so cool to.
We
have you
mostly
here.
wanted to pick your brain because it's cool to have famous people out, and you were married to, or not married, you were, your sister is a famous person, having been on Full House. So what's that like?
Well, that's actually what makes me famous with a
Right.
lot of young people today. Is they say, hey, they say to their daughter, like, that's Kirk Cameron, and the kids are like, who? What's growing pains? Growing what? And he's DJ's brother from Full House. Oh my gosh, can I have your autograph? And then I become somebody important.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was, we didn't have a different normal family to compare our life to. So for us, this was our normal. I was on Growing Pains. A couple years later, my sister's on the TV show Full House. And some of my buddies are working at McDonald's and I'm working at Warner Brothers. It was weird at times where you're going outside and people suddenly start asking for your autograph, and then there's like weird stalker moments and other kinds of things. But for me, it was my life. It was my normal. And it was pretty cool. I look back on it and I think, wow, I'm sure glad God got a hold of me at 17, because I could have gone down other roads so easily. And I'm really thankful that.
Well, I'm sure you've seen that. Like, I don't know, you see the Disney Channel and they just kind of churn kids out. Like, a headline one year is like, new Disney Channel star. And then 5 years later, it's like, this kid's in rehab, or, a really bad place.
Or worse. So Corey Haim, right? And River Phoenix, even my friend Josh, who played my buddy Boner on Growing Pains.
Yeah, for sure.
He's not here anymore. So there's all sorts of demons and dark places that you can go to and encounter when you're a young kid with lots of money and have access to anything, and people want to take you there. If you don't have outside influences like good friends or good family or the Holy Spirit protecting you and guiding you in other ways, it's very easy to get lost.
Now, you became a Christian when you were 17, and I know you've probably shared your testimony before, but I'm interested because you were kind of insulated from that stuff. How did it get to you? How did you hear the gospel for the first time?
I was insulated from...
Oh, I mean, you were in Hollywood. You were kind of not surrounded by it. Maybe you were. I don't know. Like, what was your relationship to Christ, religion, all that stuff before?
So I did not grow up in a Christian home, never went to church, never talked about God in my family. In fact, I was a professing atheist until I was about 17 and a half years old. So I thought that Jesus was part of a different trinity, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, and God. And I just thought it was ridiculous, the idea that there was someone up there hiding behind the clouds, keeping track of the good and bad, sort of like a Santa Claus figure with a list of who's naughty or nice. I loved science. I loved biology. I loved studying those kinds of things. And so for me, there was just no evidence that God exists. And even if you do want to believe in God, which religion are you going to go with? I mean, you can go with all these different religions and sacred texts. And then I met a really cute girl on the set of Growing Pains. And she invited me to meet her family one weekend, and I thought, hey, this is my chance. She's really cute. And the meeting place was at church. And this was a church in California called Fullerton EV Free, and Chuck Swindoll was the pastor.
For sure.
I didn't know who he was. And I went there. I heard a message. He presented the gospel. It left me with a head full of questions, and I started studying Josh McDowell, Evidence That Demands a Verdict. I would ask her father lots of questions about God, evolution, the Bible, dinosaurs, Noah's Ark, reincarnation, the resurrection, the virgin birth, and he was pretty good at answering those questions. And then he gave me a little book by Josh McDowell called More Than a Carpenter. Mm-hmm. That really helped me to open the door intellectually to examine the claims of Jesus and for the resurrection. And he said to me, Kirk, if you really want to know if God is there, you need to go to him and talk to him, not ask other people about him. And I thought, well, how can you set up that meeting? And he was like, well, you just have to go to him on his terms, which are humility and faith. I didn't have much of either one. And it was important that he said that to me because I think it put the whole encounter in perspective. At that time, I was Mike Seaver. I was on top of my game. I was the big man on campus. And so if you wanted to meet with me, you'd go through my managers and agents, and you'd have to come to me on my terms. But he was pointing out that if I was going to talk to the creator of the universe, I would not be the celebrity in that relationship. Mm. And I remember sitting in my sports car, parked on the side of the road, thinking about the fact that one day I would die, and I would find out if what that preacher said is true. And if there is a heaven, I knew that I would not be going. And so I thought, what will it hurt for me to just try? And so I closed my eyes in trying to assume the proper position for prayer. Mm-hmm. I didn't know why people close their eyes, but I just figured it was some magic trick that sent the prayers up to heaven. And so I just said, God, if you're there, would you please show me? I want to know if I'm headed down the wrong road. Open my eyes, make me the man that I'm supposed to be. I opened my eyes and I didn't see a vision of Jesus on the windshield. The Holy Spirit didn't rush in through the air conditioning vents. I just had this feeling that something had changed inside me, and I wanted to know. And I felt about, this big, the size of a speck of sand, in comparison to the creator of the universe. And I told a friend about that. He invited me to church. Somebody gave me a Bible. I started to read it, and it was like the Bible was reading me. Mm-hmm. I began to want to know more and more, and I got more and more of my questions answers, and eventually decided that Jesus appears to be who he claims to be. And I believe that God is changing me on the inside. And that was the beginning of my spiritual story and my walk with Jesus. And that was like 35, 40 years ago. And I look back after all these years and I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. I think after all the questions that have been answered and all the different options available to me, I think that my faith in Jesus Christ has been well placed.
Amen. That's great.
Who would win in a fight, you or Kevin Sorbo?
Well, judging by
follow-up question,
judging on this picture behind me of Kevin Sorbo, I think I would lose miserably.
I agree with that assessment.
Yeah, I think so.
You're a nice guy, but I mean,
he's Hercules.
Yeah,
let's be honest here.
I mean, he's
tall too. He's got a lot of reach.
Yeah, he does. He does have a lot of reach.
You'd have to get on the inside.
Yeah, but I could probably. But I'm Scooty, and so I could just wear him out.
Scooty, that's a good word.
Does that mean you're like scrappy? Or?
I'm scrappy.
Okay.
I move fast. Okay. I'm slippery.
You could jump on his back and
that kind of thing. I could just he probably couldn't go more than 3 rounds.
Monkey style.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just try to wear him out.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of like Mayweather and McGregor. Mm-hmm. That whole fight. He just sort of tucked into his turtle shell and he just sort of waited, just wore him out too many rounds, and then he
I'm pretty sure Conor McGregor was pulling punches. He was not using his own style.
Right.
I mean, let's just be honest. Conor should have won that fight.
He should have. He even got a couple blows to the back of the head.
Yeah. And when he started,
I could do that to
He started
Sorbo
doing
too.
the hammer fist. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We can talk about this.
I did that with Sorbo though. I don't know. I don't know.
So you become a Christian. Does that immediately set up this conflict between what you do for a living and your new faith? I mean, how did you see that?
I didn't understand that there would be a big conflict, because when I first became a Christian, I felt like the guy who just dug up the pearl of great price. He found this great treasure, and I'm thinking, hey,
that Mormon book?
What?
Not the Mormon book.
Is that what you're talking about?
No, that's it.
Oh, that's a different book.
That was different.
Okay, I know.
That's right.
Matthew.
No.
Matthew 12
Oh, right.
or something.
I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
That's right. That's one of the 4 books of the Quad.
Isn't
you
it?
have Doctrines and Covenants, and you have the Pearl.
Right.
Pearl of Great Price, Book of Mormon.
Yeah. So
Doctrine and
I
Covenants.
felt like when I had discovered forgiveness of sin and eternal life, I thought, man, I got to tell everybody. Hey, everybody in Hollywood, you got to know about this Jesus and this gospel. Well, I then realized that not everybody had the same level of excitement that I did. And so I actually kind of holed myself up in my dressing room trailer for quite a while and began handwriting out the scriptures on parchment paper, thinking that, because I was into apologetics, and so documentary evidence and historical reliability of the scriptures was a big thing for me. And so I thought, I'm going to do like the old days. I'm going to write out some handwritten copies of the scriptures and give this to my kids one day. And, my lifestyle started to change, and I wasn't cussing and swearing and doing all the things that I was doing before I became a Christian. And I thought all of this would be sort of embraced by my friends and other people in Hollywood, but I think they just thought this is cultish and weird.
You're just weird.
Yeah, you're no fun anymore. Come on, what's going on? And so that was my first taste of it, and it wasn't like I ever felt like my objective now is to be, to remove myself from Hollywood and secularism. I just wanted to pursue things that I was passionate about. Right. And so when the Left Behind script came along, it happened to be at a time when I was reading the book for the very first time myself, and they wanted me to come audition for this. And I thought, holy cow, this is great. I see how this is working. God's opening up a door over here. I'll go down this road. My managers didn't want me to go down that road,
Right.
But I did. And I was like, I'm living for an audience of 1 now.
And you narrowly beat Nick Cage out for the part.
Yes. Yes, he was pretty ticked when I got the role of Buck Williams.
Could you beat Nick Cage up in a fight?
This is a good line of thinking. I like this. Kevin Sorbo and Nick Cage and
In a
Kirk Cameron
cage.
in a cage. Who would win?
Yeah.
We need a segment.
Cage match.
We need a segment called Cage Match.
Nick
where
Cage match.
Yeah.
Could you beat up Nick Cage?
But it's beautiful as I look back in the rearview mirror on a career that could have very easily gone in a different direction.
Right.
I had plans. I had stuff I wanted to do. I never really wanted to become an actor in the first place. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a surgeon. I wanted to be like Ben Carson. That's the direction I wanted to go. Medical school.
Or Dr. Jill Biden.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
A doctor.
Yeah.
So when I look back, I say, wow, so many things happened in my life that I didn't plan. God's plans were so much better. I wanted to be an atheist. God had different plans for me. I wanted to be a doctor. God had plans for me to be an actor. Even meeting my wife was so out of the blue. Who would have thought that as a Christian, you would meet a woman of faith and character who loves family, loves the truth, and would be faithful to me on the set of a TV sitcom in Hollywood. Yeah. And there she was. So my career is similar. It's not what I wanted, but I look back and go, man, I've been a part of projects that I'm passionate about, from Fireproof to Monumental to Meeting Ray Comfort and The Way of the Mat. All that stuff changed my life for the better, and I didn't have any of it in mind.
So the Lord took you from Hollywood to all this other stuff. It's just an amazing process. Like,
yeah.
Surrendered your life, and He led you in all kinds of different directions.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It sounds organic to you. Like, just this is what God has pulled me towards, because it changes your desires and your passions.
Right.
That's right.
It's not a like I'm making this decision. I'm going to go.
And even right now, it's kind of like I still feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants here, and I don't have this master plan. I want to. I'm a planner. I'm very analytical in the way that I think about things. And if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, kind of thing. But all my plans rarely work out the way that I think that they will. So even going forward, I think, what am I going to do? What am I going to do when my talk show runs out? What am I going to do when I'm between jobs again? But God continues to open up doors, and it's this great journey of trusting Him throughout all of this. And it's really cool.
Well, I'm glad to know that even when I'm your age, I won't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, that makes me sound so old, doesn't it? No, when I'm your
up there,
age, it's good to know.
In a few decades,
You're an Xer. You're an Xer, right?
Am I an Xer?
I think
so I was
you
born in
are.
1970. What does that make me?
yeah, you're Gen X.
Yeah, you're a
Gen
Gen
X.
X.
Okay.
That's good.
Old Gen X.
We're millennials.
Or
Yeah.
You're probably borderline.
I'm on the edge.
It's kind of a lot of it is like with the music that you attach to growing up. I think that kind of defines your generation. Like 80s music and then grunge. Like if that was that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and the I mean, let's be honest. The 70s and 80s, they had the best music. I mean, it was just
70s, 80s.
But I
90s.
found it later because I grew
find
up-
it later.
Yeah, I found it later.
Yeah.
And it's like a retro.
90s had some great music, and I mean, I suppose every generation's got some, but
Yeah.
my kids are discovering the 80s now for the first
right.
time, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, how do you know this song?"
How old are your kids?
Bro, I'm like, OG
cool.
Dad here.
I'm cool,
I was
man.
There.
I was there when the deep magic
See,
was...
tucka, 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 tucka. I'm cool.
an
I'm
Narnia
hip.
reference.
I'm with it. Yeah. So anyway, how old are your kids? Are they teenagers? How old are they?
So, my wife and I, for those who don't know, I married my on-screen girlfriend. So when I was on Growing Pains, Chelsea played Mike Seaver's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes, we had this little romance going. And then on the last year of Growing Pains, we actually got married. And we've been married now for 31 years, and we have 6 children.
Okay.
And our kids are 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25.
Oh wow. That's a.
So we're kind of like the Brady Bunch. We're three boys, 3 girls.
Single-handedly
6 kids.
overpopulating the earth right here.
Well, yeah, we got
That's
to
it.
Climate
breed
change.
them out.
It's all his fault.
It's all happening here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure with all the diapers that we use, we shut down a couple of landfills, I think.
Anyway,
So when you met Ray Comfort, did he immediately show you the way of the master dojo?
That was a perfect setup.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm just picturing Ray Comfort in a gi.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's a funny picture in my mind.
So we have an article.
I think we have a Photoshop of that somewhere. Yeah.
That's right. That he was my Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah,
and he showed me the way of the master. Yeah.
Danny-san and Miyagi.
So Ray Comfort, the first time I actually learned of Ray Comfort was at a conference where the Left Behind movie was being promoted. And some dude comes up to me, he's waiting in this autograph line, and he just looks at me with this CD in his hand, and he's like, "You need to listen to this." And he puts it out in front of me, and I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man." People give me a lot of CDs and books and stuff. And I went to go take it, and he wouldn't let go of it. And I was looking at him like, "Okay, bro, what are you doing?" And he's like, "I won't give this to you unless you promise to listen to it." I was like, "Okay." We kind of had a little moment there, locking eyes. And I took it and I saw the title said Hell's Best Kept Secret. And I thought, well, that's a great title. What's the devil's secret that he doesn't want me to know? So I listened to it one day and it just rocked my world. And I called.
And did you like look up and then the man had disappeared?
Kind of. Yeah. I think that's how I remember it. And then I called the number on the back of the CD and I just talked to Ray Comfort on the phone and I said, "Could I come have lunch with you?" And we met for lunch and Ray was practicing the way of the master right out of the gates. It's like he kind of can't help himself. I think even if he tries to go out on a date with his wife, he's got to be passing out little magic trick gospel tracts to the booth next to them. As we were walking to the table, the hostess was taking us there. Ray kind of made a detour, and he was handing out little optical illusion gospel tracts to everybody in the restaurant. And I'm looking at this guy, going, "What is he doing?" And I was so embarrassed about what he was doing, handing out these little, Jesus tickets to people. But I noticed that everybody was looking at these optical illusions and laughing and asking him for more. And he was passing out more and more and more. And I thought, okay, well, I wasn't expecting that. And we got into a conversation that lasted a couple of hours, and it resulted in us traveling around, speaking at churches together, sharing this message because I thought it was so important. And Ray changed my life. Ray changed the way I shared the gospel. He might have even got me saved. I would have been a Christian for quite a while, but I had never actually had someone share the gospel with me the way that Ray had, using the 10 Commandments to bring the knowledge of sin. And so I actually witnessed to myself, sort of like, I was like talking to myself, going, "Hey, Kirk, have you ever told a lie? Hey, Kirk, have you ever stolen anything? Well, you're a lying thief." And it was powerful to me. Yeah.
Did you do the accent or?
No, I wasn't so good at the accent. But you're really good at the accent.
Thank you.
He's good at it.
Yeah.
I've worked on it.
And
in the mirror.
It so impacted me that I remember that my grandmother was in a nursing home and I didn't know whether or not she knew the Lord. And so I thought, I got to go down there and witness to her using these 10 Commandments. So I got one of those 10 Commandment pennies that Ray prints. And I went down there and I was really nervous because I was about to ask my grandmother if she's ever looked with lust. And then I was going to have to call her.
Conversation.
This is awkward. This is awkward, Grandma, but...
And
be specific.
And I was like, "Grandma, by your own admission, you're a lying thief and an adulterer at heart. Does Grandpa know about this?"
I'm not judging you.
No. But that encounter with Ray Comfort really changed the way that I understood the gospel and how to share it with people. And so we worked together for 10, 15 years after that.
That's great.
Did you ever get tricked by one of the $1 million gospel tracks? Like think it was real money?
No.
Has that ever happened?
I was onto it from the beginning. I was there.
You can spot the difference.
You were there with the printing.
I was there during the printing of the counterfeit.
You could be blindfolded and feel them and go, "That's the gospel."
Probably.
That's what they tell you.
Because I know the way of the master.
That's good. Right. And that's so funny. I actually had an interesting, kind of a similar, well, I obviously didn't go into ministry with Ray Comfort, but he was down at 3rd Street Promenade doing his evangelism thing when I was a freshman in college. I went down to go see him, and I remember he wrote about this particular night in one of his books because on that night, Arnold Schwarzenegger was around, and Pauly Shore was there arguing with Ray Comfort. Pauly Shore and Ray Comfort were having a conversation.
It sounds like a dream.
And what? I know.
And then Arnold Schwarzenegger
and then all
was
of a
there,
sudden,
Pauly Shore
the guy from the Bee Gees.
The guy from the Bee Gees shows up.
That's right. The Monopoly guy. Anyway, so we ended up just like, I watched this conversation between Ray Comfort and Pauly Shore, and Pauly Shore was trying to make jokes and make fun of him, but Ray was so sincere. And so then I got up on the microphone And I was like, but isn't it about God's love?
And you were talking to Ray, not to Pauly Shore.
Finally, because Pauly Shore
You're like after Pauly
had
Shore.
moved on. And so I walked
realized
up.
I forgot my pants.
So anyway, so I went up and I started talking to Ray Comfort.
Because of the dream.
And because it's the dream,
right.
And he convinced me, like, in that conversation, he's like, no, he's like, God's judgment and God's love are tied. And I didn't understand that concept.
Yeah.
So this guy came up to me that had been saved through the ministry, and he was like, he's like, son, you got to hear this. Here's a tape. I want you to go home and listen to it. So I went home and I listened to it, and I think it was hell's best kept secret.
It was the same man, and he disappeared.
And he disappeared.
The same guy.
Yeah,
that's right. He wouldn't let go of it until you said you
But it convinced me that a lot of what my professors were saying, a lot of the things that I was hearing, some of the more progressive ideas were wrong.
I think the biggest change for me was like evangelism always felt high pressure where I have to convert them right now or it's a failure. And I think the biggest thing with Ray Comfort's, the way of the master is like, if you proclaim God's truth and you're faithful to that, then it's a success. Regardless of how the person
plant
responds.
The seed.
Plant the
God
seed.
causes
I'm
the
letting
increase.
God,
Yeah.
But just from a practical, logical level, a doctor doesn't have to really work too hard to give a cancer patient chemotherapy if he takes the time to show him the x-ray and the patient becomes convinced he has the disease.
Right.
Then he wants it, right? Then the doctor's just like, here you go. And that's what Ray has always pointed out to us, that until a person understands that they have the disease of sin, and that's the hardest part, is because everybody believes that, hey, I'm good. I'll do more good than bad. I don't need a savior. I don't need a crucified Messiah to get into heaven. But once they understand that, and that's what the law brings, it's like a mirror to show us our sin, then it's like, hey, there's an answer, there's a cure, there's a solution, and it's the gospel. And people are like, thank you. I've shared the gospel with people on airplanes this way, which, by the way, is a great place to share the gospel because you're 30,000 feet up in the air. They're stuck, they can't get away. And
I oppose this. If anybody talks to me on an airplane, no.
On the record, Kyle is against
headphones
this.
in. Don't talk to me.
I've seen Ray actually come toward an end of a flight, and he's not yet witness to the guy next to him because he's sleeping. The other guy's sleeping, and I've seen Ray actually mock. Like create like fake turbulence to wake the guy up so that he'll actually like shake his chair.
That sounds close.
So that the guy wakes up so that he can share the gospel.
That sounds like lying to me, Ray.
Have you ever lied? Have you ever woken somebody up from a nap?
That's right. And
fake turbulence.
with fake turbulence.
But the other thing that's great about what Ray points out, so often today we hear that it's the kindness of God that leads us to repentance.
Yeah.
But if you look at the context of that verse in Romans, you'll find that it's sandwiched between two verses of harsh wrath. Every time you sin, you're storing up wrath for yourself that will be revealed on the day of judgment, Paul says in Romans. Right. And then it says the kindness of God leads you to repentance. So the idea, it's not just, just be kind to people and that will make them repent. No, the idea is you have wrath hanging over your head because of your wickedness and your evil deeds. Yeah. And it's the kindness of God to give you time to repent. He's leading you to repentance before it falls on you on the day of judgment. So it's really not the sugary, sappy sweetness that leads you to, it's an understanding that God is kind in his,
like his
and
patience,
he's
and he's
waiting for you to repent, and he's giving you chances.
And revealing the wrath of God.
Yes.
Is actually the kindness.
That is the kindness of God.
That's it.
He's leading you to repentance by being patient.
I love that.
And not snuffing you out now.
If there was a story that best encapsulates how bad crime has become, it's probably the one about Starbucks providing baristas with active shooter training, because our cities really aren't safe anymore. And while the Supreme Court has made it easier for you to conceal carry for protection, it's your responsibility to be properly trained. We endorse iTarget Pro. This system allows you to dry fire practice with your actual firearm anytime in the safety and privacy of your own home. No more inconvenient trips to the range. You'll save a ton on practice ammo. Just download iTarget's proprietary app, load the laser bullet into your firearm, and start your training experience. Improve muscle memory, reaction speed, sight alignment, trigger control, and more. iTarget Pro comes in all the major calibers, including .223, so you can stay sharp with almost any firearm. Save 10% plus free shipping with the offer code THEB when you go to itargetpro.com right now. This is the smartest investment in your ability to safely and effectively handle your firearm. Plus, it will pay for itself one day. That's the letter I, targetpro.com.
You know, I love that at the Babylon Bee, you guys don't just make fun of silly things, but that you guys dive deep into topics like hermeneutics and theology, eschatology, all sorts of things, which is so great because you appeal to the broad spectrum within the church, the intellectuals, you know, the cultural, people who are just doing silly things and the arts and everything else. So it's super cool.
Well, I think, I think it's like there's been this perception that Christians don't have a sense of humor, or we're not good at art, or we're not good at whatever. We're not good at making movies. You know, that's kind of like
ugly.
the perception.
We're not deep thinking.
We're not very good
sort of,
looking.
yeah.
We can't make fun of ourselves. I think that's...
We dress
basically,
poorly.
we started making fun of ourselves, like making fun of you and,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like that's like I think when they see that we can make fun of you, like one of our own, it's like they're like, oh, these guys are cool,
It's kind of those self-deprecating ones that give us the ability, permission to do the ones that are more scathing.
But you do it with skill in a way that continues to honor Christ. Maybe there's been times where you feel like maybe we missed the mark there, but
never.
But I have
you ever
seen,
missed the mark?
I have seen particularly Christian movies that try to be funny by making fun of themselves. But I have a sneaking suspicion that these are people who actually mock the Word of God.
No, I agree. Most of the Christian comedies I've seen are like that.
What's a good example of one of those?
Oh, bro, there was a movie that I saw and I can't even remember it, but it was not only mocking of Christianity, sort of like the pray the gay away camps for people who are struggling with same-sex attraction, and it was just so badly handled. But then there were also like lewd and, smutty things.
Yeah, the tone, you can always tell from the tone. Yeah.
That you could tell, like these weren't people who were really living as though Jesus were precious to them, but looking to mock and undermine the church and then get away with it by going, hey, we're making
kidding.
jokes.
Right.
We're just kidding around.
Yeah, but you guys are you're cut from a different cloth, and I appreciate that.
Well, you've got this new movie coming out.
Lifemark.
So excited about it.
And awesome pro-life message about adoption. I think the documentary was I Lived on Parker Avenue, I think that was based on.
I Lived on Park Avenue?
Yes.
Is that
Parker Avenue?
I lived on Parker Avenue.
Parker Avenue.
What I love about this movie, and it's unique for a Kendrick Brothers movie. So the Kendrick Brothers, we partnered together. They made Fireproof, which we did 10 years ago. And this is the first time that we've connected again in a feature film like this. They went on to make War Room and Courageous. But this one is not a movie with an overt gospel presentation in the middle of it. This is based on a true story, and the value of life is just so obvious when you watch the story, not because somebody says so, but because you see the agony of the decision that this young girl made about what's best for her and her child and her boyfriend. And then you see the joy of a brand new couple looking to start a family. And then you see what that young life turned into and all the other lives that he affects. And you just go, wow, life is so important. Our decisions impact not just us, but so many other people, generations of people. So,
well, the scene where she's at the abortion clinic, there's a flashback when she's trying to decide whether or not to do it. Most powerful scene in the movie, other than the scene where the Kendrick brother gets to ride the ATV.
Yeah, that was
right.
Which we're starting to think that the whole movie was just an excuse. He wanted to go on an ATV.
Skydiving.
And ride it in an ATV.
Right. That's right. Alex actually crashed in the filming of that. There was a Kendrick that was actually harmed in the making of this movie.
There
So
was
it says at the end, one Kendrick was harmed on the making of this film.
I think we have that in small print somewhere.
Oh, man.
But I would love to share how this movie came about. Somebody sent me on my phone a link to a little documentary called I Lived on Parker Avenue. And I didn't want to watch it, but I heard it was about adoption. And my wife and I adopted our first 4 children.
Oh, wow.
And my wife is an adopted child. So when she came home that day, I said, hey, I got this. She's like, what was your day like? I'm like, oh, somebody sent me this link. She's like, you should watch that. And I didn't really want to watch it because I had other things going on. And she's
glad to know you're the same as me. When you get a link to a really long video, your first instinct is to just ignore it.
Right.
That's me.
Yeah. Just pretend like it doesn't exist.
Yeah. I mean, I can justify ignoring it. I've got 10 others that I have to watch too. She said, no, you should watch it. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, you need to watch that. And, you know, I know what that means is like, she's going to ask me later if I watched it. So I needed to watch it. And I did. And I'm telling you, I was ugly face crying in my kitchen watching this on my little Google Home thing. And my son even walked into the kitchen. He's like, hey, and he saw my face and he just turned around and walked out because he knew there was no talking to Dad right now.
Dad's crying. Weird.
Oh, it was just such raw emotion as I saw this birth mother wrestling with what am I going to say to my child that I haven't seen in 19 years? Is he going to hate my guts and ask me why I wasn't worth it? Why I gave him away? And so anyway, I talked to my wife, I talked to my friend. We wanted to turn this into a movie, but I called the Kendricks first because they have more experience. And I said, guys, am I crazy or is this a good idea? They said, well,
so you're crazy, but it's a good idea.
Well, you're crazy, but it is a good idea. And they said, and we've never done this before. We come up with our own ideas. We don't really partner with other production companies to do films, but we want to make this movie with you. And I said, awesome, let's go do it.
Right.
And so we got the rights and we began putting the script together. And really, we hardly had to write the script because we just followed the real story. And I don't think we could have written something so powerful. Yeah. And even the lines coming out of the actors' mouths were just transcriptions of interviews with the real people.
Yeah.
And so again, this is a story of an 18-year-old girl who rolls off of the abortion table. She changes her mind at the last minute, hides the pregnancy and the birth for 9 months, places her child for adoption, and never tells anybody. And then 19 years later, he reaches out and wants to meet her. And we have the actual footage of this taking place, of him driving up into the driveway, her running out the front door of her house and them embracing for the first time, and all the hopes and fears and questions come about, and the adoptive parents who just want to meet her too and just thank her for giving them their son. And then he meets his birth father. And then he finds out he has brothers and sisters.
Wow.
It's just an incredible story. And you guys saw it, so you know it's just like a Kendrick movie with heart and humor and action and deep.
By the way, the kid you guys
principles.
cast is wonderful. He's a really good actor.
Yeah,
he did a great job.
He did.
Yeah,
he did a great job. And you know,
it's like a young Kirk Cameron.
Yeah, he's there.
It's like I was watching Growing
Reminds me
Pains.
of someone. Yeah.
Better than that. And there's some secret actors in the movie too. Do you know that the real birth mother plays one of the roles in the film?
She
and
plays
the
the
real
nurse.
son. Yes.
And then the guy that was in the scene.
We even watched the credits.
When they
You stayed?
Yeah,
and
we
watched
stayed for the credits.
We watched.
We were
the whole
waiting
thing.
for like the superhero like mid credits reveal.
Yeah, the one at the end with Captain America. Yeah.
So I'm super
Bible
excited.
Man shows up.
And
Yeah.
guys, think of this. Who would have thought that in our lifetime, Roe versus Wade would be gone?
Oh, I know.
Amazing.
We made this movie starting 2.5 years ago. It was delayed by COVID.
Oh, gotcha.
And now on the heels of the Supreme Court decision, here comes a movie right into the theaters that celebrates the value of life in the womb and the beauty of adoption. I mean, how perfect
Did we
is
show you
that?
our Tumblr? This is conservative tears of joy
Yeah.
because of Roe v. Wade
Roe v.
being
Wade
overturned.
I love this.
Yes, we're hoping liberals buy it and don't
Oh,
know
man.
what they're
Have you
celebrating.
sent a case of those over to the Daily Wire?
We have not yet, but we will do that.
We should.
You need
Put
to
some
do
other
that.
goodies in there too for
Yeah.
them. Yeah,
That's
that's
some other goodies.
yeah.
Yeah, they would love that.
So one thing we noticed in the film is there was a lot of blue and yellow. One character
Oh
always
wait,
wore yellow.
there wasn't just blue and yellow. There was
man.
red,
This is a
yeah,
sore
there was
spot.
like-
and there was orange. No, there wasn't orange. There was scarlet.
Yeah, but every character had a color. Like
Yeah, every character had a uniform.
This was a creative choice by our director. And Kevin Peoples did a great job directing the movie. And one of his ideas was that, what if every character has a color, and then as the story goes on, those colors begin to change based on the people that are influencing them. So I was blue, my wife was yellow, our son was green, but his birth mother has the color red. And so as he has more interaction with her, his colors begin to shift from green toward red, and they become a little more on the brown side of things. Now, one of the big questions that we got from people in early screenings was, What's with the blue and the yellow? So when you're saying this right now, it's echoing all of that.
We thought it was supporting Ukraine or something. Like
Yeah,
there
that's
was
right.
a political statement,
And so actually we went back through the film and we began to tone some of those colors down because I think girls notice even more.
Yeah.
Like why is she always in yellow? You know,
girls
I mean,
I think I was
girls
They
and
noticed.
Jarret.
I was the
Jarret.
first one to
Girls
point
and
that
Jarret.
out.
Both, I didn't even notice.
They
but
noticed
they
these
did.
things. So what you saw was much less yellow and less blue than the originally was.
Okay.
Well, and Nelson, the lady that played your wife,
Yes.
she was in yellow the whole time.
She was in yellow the whole time.
She did a great job.
Not only
too.
that, like her pots and pans are yellow, her cabinets are yellow, and her sheets are yellow.
You don't
I
actually
did-
see anything.
Yeah,
'cause
well,
it's
and
just
also
a giant yellow.
the towels weren't the
Could tell that
towels yellow?
They were very yellow and blue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the towels. Yeah,
We noticed you washed a lot of dishes. in the
you
movie,
did.
too.
Did you notice
You
that?
did wash one.
Actually, Jimmy, the guy that I play in the movie, washes dishes a lot.
Oh,
He
like,
really
like in
does.
real life?
That's his thing.
That's his
She
thing.
cooks and he washes,
washes
the dishes.
the dishes.
I actually went to their house for dinner one night and he was there washing the dishes. And I'm like, hey, I got to jump in, Jimmy, because I got to play you soon. So
He's like,
move
so-
over.
he's like,
and
you're not doing it
hand me the sponge.
Did he teach you the way of the master?
The way of
the master
that's
dishwasher.
Right. Yes, he did.
Gosh, that's funny. Yeah. So homeschooling.
That's
do
a
you
good
do
transition.
homeschool? Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So did you guys homeschool?
We did homeschool our kids for part of the time. So our kids went to a great little private Christian school when they were young. And then after sixth grade, we weren't happy with the options and we weren't going to send our kids to public school. And so we thought, well, what do we do? And then I talked to a guy who was part of an organization called the Vision Forum. I don't know if you remember that, but they had all kinds of great stuff there. And he said, homeschooling's the way. And I thought, who homeschools their kids? I mean, don't you care about the education of your children? You're just going to keep them inside the house all day and try to teach them math and science yourself? And he opened my eyes to this world of homeschooling, the vast amount of curriculum and community and all the creativity and the way that it allows you to be together with your kids and disciple them for 18 years. And so we pulled all the kids out of school and we homeschooled them. Some of them went back to a private school to graduate. Others stayed in the homeschool community throughout their educational years. And it was one of the best things we ever did for our family. In fact, I made a whole documentary about it because homeschooling's doubled in the United States since COVID.
Yep.
Parents were so freaked out and horrified by what they were seeing their kids were learning in public schools.
That's right.
Because COVID sent them home and parents got a front row seat to see what's coming up on the laptop. And kids were being taught, critical race theory and genderqueer theory and everything else that undermines what they want their kids to learn.
They were being taught that the earth is billions of years old.
Yeah. That dinosaurs and people didn't exist together.
I don't like it. I'm not.
No, but
and so they were like, we want to do something else. And I thought that the face of homeschool has changed so much in the last 20 to 30 years that people need to see what it's really like.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
it is awesome. My mother-in-law started a homeschool co-op 25 years ago. Well, and there are 800 families in it. My wife runs it. Like it's an insane thing. And we're just speaking at it. We just
How
did
old
the
do they
big
say the
information.
Earth is?
So
Do they say billions?
You know what
So
you need to
many
do? You need
things.
to have a podcast
6,000?
episode and have a cage fight between Hugh Ross and Ken Ham.
We've
No,
had
exactly.
both of them on.
we've had them on
But separately.
Get them in the same room. Wouldn't that be
What we want to
great?
do is surprise them, like have Hugh Ross on and
Yeah.
Ken Ham's in the next room, and then we bring them out.
Come on, bring them out.
So you homeschool your kids.
Yeah.
Have they ever rolled their eyes at you?
What do you mean? Like over anything
Like,
or just over
Have your teenagers ever shown you any attitude?
about school or about
Just
just
about
life?
anything.
Oh man, it's much harder raising teenagers than little kids.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Sam Sorbo told us her kids had never rolled their eyes at her once.
Never once.
Never once.
Yeah, she does the
What's her,
homeschool thing.
what's her secret?
She said homeschooling. She said she homeschooled them and they never did.
I met her kids,
man.
and they're 9 feet tall, both of them,
Did they roll their eyes at you?
and they didn't. They were very respectful.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so now that you're defining this a little bit more, I would say that my children are finding their way with God. My children are testing to see whether or not the Bible is true and what their parents have told them. Does that line up with reality? And I think that's a healthy thing. I think that's a good thing, right? At some point,
the
kids want.
Rumspringa, the Christian Rumspringa.
At some
That's a
point,
good
kids.
reference. That was a
Isn't
good
that what it
reference.
is? Where the Amish people go out and like
Oh yeah.
Oh,
see if
that's
they
right.
want to.
The walkabout.
If they like the world,
And
or
then
whether
they come
want
back.
to come
For the
they
Ray
wanna come
Conference
back.
It's a
of the world, it's a
spiritual
walkabout.
Rumspringa.
That's it. There you go.
The Rumspringa.
That's right.
You know?
At some point,
You know what we mean?
want our children to find out that the moon is not made of cheese.
Sure.
And we want them to find out everything else is false. That is not true. And I think so. I think it's good that our kids have a chance to touch the fences and understand what's true and what's not, because they'll see that false systems do fail them, that God's ways do lead to blessing and protection and human flourishing, both individually and in the home and in the nation and in the world. So rolling your eyes, I would say that the level of disrespect in our family, no, that's not there.
Low.
And if they do, they would come back quickly and say, "I'm sorry, Mom, Dad, you guys we're so thankful for you." And
Gosh, that's
and
cool.
that's a good feeling. So it's always hard to watch your kids make mistakes. You want to rescue them from poor decisions. But someone once told me that if we always rescue our kids, we will turn them into poor human beings, because they never learn that there are consequences to our actions. And every time they fall on their face, it reinforces everything you've ever told them, and that the Word of God has shown them that you choose to sin, you choose to suffer. And the path of obedience to God's ways is the path to blessing.
He's a good father, and it's kind of like that.
He's
with
a good
Father.
father.
He's a good.
It's who he is.
It's who he is.
And as the worship team comes up,
As the worship team, Chris Tomlin, can you
Come on
just
in.
come on in? Today's episode is sponsored by the 2022 Crenshaw Youth Summit. Have you ever wanted to hear from the real Wolf of Wall Street, the founder of Prager University, the CEO of the Babylon Bee, all at one conservative youth summit? Because all these speakers will be live in Houston, Texas on October 8th and 9th for Congressman Dan Crenshaw's third annual Crenshaw Youth Summit. Every year, the former Navy SEAL and rising conservative star brings together leaders in conservative media, politics, business, and culture to speak to more than 2,000 young conservatives from all over the country. This year, our very own Seth Dillon, CEO of the Babylon Bee, will impart his profound wisdom to attendees alongside Jordan Belfort, Dennis Prager, Dave Rubin, JP Sears, and many more. Don't get FOMO from your friends who got to hear from this once-in-a-lifetime lineup. Get your tickets at CrenshawYouthSummit.com and use code B at checkout to get 50% off student tickets and reserve your spot today for the Crenshaw Youth Summit October 8th and 9th in downtown Houston. This ad is paid for by Dan Crenshaw Victory Committee.
so on your Instagram, we found some troubling pictures of you next to problematic symbols of hate, and we wanted you to.
Yeah,
Did
what's
you really? Do I get to see these?
Yeah, they're over here.
white symbols of white supremacy?
There's looks like an American flag.
The American flag.
I look like I've been hanging out with Joe Rogan and I'm high. Right there in that
There's
picture.
smoke in that
And
picture.
there's a lot of smoke, and my eyes are squinted.
There's a squint thing going on.
That's right.
That, or you're explaining
But
a theological
I
concept.
I like the flag though. That's an amazing flag. The Appeal to Heaven flag.
Appeal to heaven.
Yeah, that's a
early
great one.
American flag.
I don't know that flag. So that's an early, like American Revolution
That's
flag?
right. I believe it's a Navy flag.
Okay.
And it was, yes, during the time of the American Revolution. And those who flew it were signifying that these were people of faith and courage. And they understood that even if the justice system in your country goes rogue, there is still one final appeal you can make. And that is to the judge of the universe, who will stand by your cause if it is just.
So the Supreme
I think we're
Court.
there today.
Yeah.
We're there now.
That's why we're flying that flag.
I'm going to go get one of those flags as soon as we're out of here. I'm going to go order one online.
I fly it behind my big truck, which
Yeah,
is also
my
a
big
good
truck.
symbol to be seen next to. Big
Yeah,
truck
that's
with an
your
American
big old
flag.
truck with
That's
a
right,
lifted truck.
A lifted truck with a "Don't Tread on Me" flag in the back as well too.
I'm going to buy one of those too. I like the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. I like that one. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad you only had one image. I was ready
We
to
had
defend
two.
myself
there
and more.
was the American flag and then the battle flag.
Yeah.
So, do you ever feel like Christian movies just preach to the choir? Is there a danger of that? Is that the purpose of them? Do you feel like they reach a wider audience? It's something we struggle with as a Babylon because we write our little Christian jokes and that hits this audience, but then we have the broader stuff that hits this audience. And is that betraying what you're doing here? I don't know. There's a question there somewhere.
That's a good thing for us to think about as Christians and as cultural influencers. And it seems to be the default that it's like, well, you're just preaching to the choir, so that's not very effective. But remember, It's God's army of compassion that changes the world. It's the soldiers of the cross that go out and bring redemption to a lost world. It's those who are in the choir that when they take off their choir robes, have the full armor of God underneath those robes that go out into the world and bring light to the darkness. So we must preach to the choir. We are the agents of transformation. Nobody else. We bring the message. So it's important that we speak to the choir. And I like doing that, and I look to see Jesus doing that all the time with his parables. He's speaking to his disciples, and there are some who get it, and there's some who don't. Then there's times where Jesus is speaking to the Pharisees, to the religious community, and then just to the masses. So
there's a place for this.
I think there's a place for it. There's a place for all of it.
Yeah.
And I think it's an honor to preach to the choir, because the choir, that's the special forces team that actually brings heaven to earth. And we shouldn't neglect them or see that as some sort of a less than category.
Do you see examples where Christian art and entertainment hits the wider audience? Like, isn't just preaching to the choir?
I think the Passion of the Christ did a great job of that.
For
Sure. Yeah, there's good examples of that, but I like what you're saying, because I think it's a good apologetic for Christian cinema.
But there's a weird definition.
And in the criticism,
Yeah, because look, if my theology, I mean, is our theology that if only we can get a movie out there that turns Elon Musk into a Christian, he'll save the world.
We
already saved him.
You already saved him.
I'm just kidding. You didn't. No.
That's right. I heard about that. I heard about that. I wanted that was one of my questions for you.
He said yes.
When we have time. But if
Ray Comfort said it wasn't up to snuff.
That's not a conversion.
It's not a conversion.
Yeah.
Sorry,
if our Bible actually says that God transforms the hearts of nobodies from nowhere with nothing to offer but a willingness to serve him in humility and faith, and that by our example, we are the foolish ones who preach a message that is foolishness to those who think they're wise, well, that's an entirely different plan. And so preaching to the choir is essential. And I love the way that God does that. I've often thought back to times where I thought, with all of my questions about the universe and God and Christianity, let's just go ask the smartest people on earth, because they're the ones who should have the best answers. But often those can turn out to be the loneliest, emptiest people in the world. Some of the smartest philosophers end up committing suicide because they've thought themselves into a black hole of meaninglessness and die. And there are some who are so smart that they're so intoxicated by their own intellect that their pride surely should keep them out of heaven if God resists the proud and gives grace to the humble. And sure enough, it turns out that God's way is believing the message that appears to be foolish to the wise, to strain out the proud, and usher in the humble, regardless of your intellectual capacity. And I think that's brilliant. Mm-hmm. That's brilliant. He's chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, because the foolishness of God is wiser than the wisdom of men.
Yeah, that's interesting. It feels like it's almost an idol in the Christian movie industry. Like, I don't know if it's Christian movie industry is the right word, but in the Christian world, like, we need to make the movie that's going to make us respected.
Yes. We want a seat at the table.
We want to be true artists.
We want to be at that table.
True artists.
And I keep going, no. Guys, let's not beg and grovel for a seat at the table. We need to build the table.
Yeah.
Let's build the table. We used to be there. We used to be the cultural leaders in society, in the arts, in government, in matters of religion and science. The fathers of science, the leaders in the artistic world were people who were inspired and moved by the Spirit of God because they understood his sovereignty, and they were filled with gratitude because of the gospel. But as we've gotten so, drunk on our own abilities and intellect, we believe that we can sit and critique the Word of God and critique the mind of God and the reasonableness of the Scriptures and miracles, and all of a sudden we've We've just been handed over to ourselves, as Romans 1 says. You want to exchange the truth for a lie and worship yourselves or the environment or creation rather than the Creator? You can have it till you choke on it, and we are. We're choking, and it's disgusting what I see. But that's a perfect setup for revival. We see it in the Bible, we see it in history, and that's why I'm excited about where we are living right now. Is that false systems end up failing, and people are beginning to wake up and say, "Holy cow! Look what we've done to ourselves."
Yeah. I love that you. I think the Lord does use the cheesy things of the world to shame the cool sometimes, and the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. And He uses things that we never.
Are you calling Christian movies cheesy, good sir?
I was talking about.
I would even call Christian movies cheesy, except for. When we get it right.
No, exactly.
Sure. And we're getting more and more of it right. It happened in music. It's happening in movies.
And Christian satire.
And Christian satire. That's right.
So right.
And even in the foolishness of the gospel, if I can put it that way, the alleged foolishness of the message of the cross, as the Bible says, there is brilliance and wisdom in it.
Yeah.
Because it effectively strains out the proud.
Yeah.
Well, that was great. It was
fantastic.
We were awesome having.
I was so surprised when he said that thing
About
that
the
I was
thing.
not expecting him to say.
And he's a handsome devil.
Absolutely.
In person, to boot.
He was shorter than I expected.
He was
I
taller
always
than
think
I
that.
expected.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was right about the same size that I was expecting.
If you guys want to hear the rest of the interview, it is in the subscriber portion coming up. But first, we have hate mail.
I really miss Adam Ford.
This is from Ellie Kindland, who commented on our She-Hulk joke where we said that Marvel was using CGI to make it seem like a woman can be a lawyer. This is a Christian joke? Why?
Why?
I mean, I'm no feminist, but this is just stupid 12-year-old boy stuff. It's not even satirical enough to be making fun of anything else. Disappointed, B.
You're just a bunch of frat boys out there.
Let me say that, though, that if I can explain the joke, it's that they use CGI to make it seem like a woman could be a lawyer.
Maybe she'll get it now. She'll understand.
All right, coming up in the subscriber lounge, we ask Kirk Cameron the famous 10 questions. We read subscriber headlines, and we ask Kirk Cameron questions from you, the listener, and from subscribers at Babylon Bee and Not the Bee. Here we go.
Coming up next, for Babylon Bee subscribers.
We are going to read some headlines from the Babylon Bee featuring Kirk Cameron, and he is going to read them and brutalize us for them.
New movie filtering service replaces every actor with Kirk Cameron. That's right. Who needs VidAngel when you just replace every actor with me, who won't cuss or kiss other women beside his wife?
Yeah.
This has been another edition of the Bee Weekly from the dedicated team of certified fake news journalists you can trust here at the Babylon Bee. Reminding you that someone out there knows something about Carmen, and we're going to find them.